Hello, good morning, everybody. I hope everyone can hear me. Okay, we're going to start in a few minutes. We just want to wait like 3 minutes to get more people on board so we can all start together. Okay, good morning, everybody, once again. We wanted to give room for more people to join in so we can all start together. But I think we spent 6 minutes past already. Okay, good morning and welcome everybody to Sambo's GeoWord webinar for students. Earlier, we wanted to allow more people to join us, but we're going to start immediately because we've spent some minutes already. My name is Precious Chinwe Anyekwina, and today I will be your host at this webinar. And I hope we all have a good time today. Can everyone hear me? Can I get yes on the chat box so I can be sure that everyone hears me audibly? Okay. Good morning, everybody, once again. Can we all see my screen? All right. So I welcome you all once again to this webinar. And let's get right into the business. First of all, I want to introduce our organization, Sambo's Geospatial Nigeria Limited. So we are an applications development organization. We integrate technologies and a range of geospatial solutions for our clients. And we operate in a couple of West African countries, which includes Ghana, Togo, Liberia, Gambia, Gabon, and Equatorial Guinea. And our headquarters are in Ghana, but we are speaking to you today from our Nigerian office. And we welcome you all students. I know I can see students from University of Lagos, University of Jos, and several federal and polytechnics and institutions across our nation, Nigeria. And I welcome you all to this webinar. I hope today that we all have a great time. Okay, and then again, Sambos in our organization, we are sole distributors for every suite of software and we are authorized distributors for Trimble Geospatial handheld devices. We are also distributor for Wingtra drones in Africa, in West Africa, and L3 Harris Geospatial products. We do a whole lot of other services, and these are training services, consultancy, and technical support services. So our agenda for today's event, we're going to having a presentation for our students, and we're going to be discussing geospatial application areas for school projects. And without wasting more time, I'm going to be inviting the speaker for today. Our speaker for today is Olumide Ogungbemi, and he's a member of our business development team. He's going to be explaining to you today more details on what you need and all things about geospatial applications for students who are handling projects and researchers, and you want to develop your career, you want to be sure of what you're doing, and you want your projects and topics to stand out. So this is the purpose for this webinar. And if this is you, you're handling a project, you are in the right place, and you're going to have a great time today with us. So I'm going to go straight and welcome our speaker, Olumide. But before I do that, if you have any questions during the webinar, please, during the presentation, do well to put it on our chats, on our chat box down there. And if you want to, probably want to make a comment, do raise a hand, and we will invite you when the presentation is over, so you can say what, you can give us your questions. And we also have a list of professionals with us who will be answering your questions at the end of this presentation. So put your questions on our chat box, and you want to speak, you raise a hand, and we will invite you. And note that questions will be taken. And please, at all times, let your mic stay muted so you can all have a smooth event for today. Thank you very much. Olumide, over to you, please.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning. My name is Olumide Ogungbemi. We'll be having our webinar for students this morning. It's nice to be here among the students to share about geospatial application. I'm from the business development department, and we'll get the webinar started right away. So I'll be going through some slides to open up to let us know how we can actually apply geospatial application in our projects. So we'll be looking at different areas actually today. We'll focus on, we have several departments here actually. So we'll look at everybody. Everything I'm going to talk about here is going to touch every department that is here. So once again, it's nice being here. So let's get started. My name is Olumide. So we're having geospatial application areas for schools projects. That's the topic for today. Now, the first thing we'll look at is to check how we can actually use all these geospatial in our projects. So first of all, I would like to talk about the focus for today, which is on geospatial technology and GISTM, also application areas, and also looking at the SDG and relating it to the application areas. Now, there has been a lot of questions about what is geospatial technology and what is GIS. So I'll be differentiating it today, and I'll talk about it. What is geospatial technology? It's a technology that encompasses many different forms of mapping, as that is geographic mapping. So GIS is actually a form of geospatial technology. So what's GIS? GIS has to do with 5 different areas, which has to do with data, it has to do with analysis, it has to do with maps, and it has to do with apps. Sorry, it has to do with 4 different areas: data, analysis, maps, and apps. So it's actually a framework that makes us to understand, it actually communicates. So going to the next focus for today, looking at the application areas. So we'll be touching several application areas for today, majorly for those that relate to geospatial areas. Now, number 1 is talking about the agriculture and the forestry and mining. So agriculture, what does it do? Relating geospatial application or technology to agriculture. It helps us to analyze and share our agricultural data. So we can actually make use of ArcGIS to show precision agriculture. We can actually show those crops that are getting better, or probably crops that are affected by a lot of drought and some other pests and diseases. So this is a function that geospatial technology can actually help us to. Also, looking at forestry, we can actually look at timber, looking at another one is looking at the deforestation that has been happening in terms of forest management. Deforestation that has been happening here and there in Nigeria, a lot of deforestation. So we can actually make use of our land use, land cover in terms of ENVI to check how the trees has been falling down over years in interval, maybe three years or 2 years in our project. So that's another aspect. Looking at the mining, so in terms of mining, what geospatial technology will do is that it integrates this geoscience technologies. It helps us in terms of also looking at the environmental impact of this using geospatial technology in mining, also help us in the environmental impact, so that we consider, we not only do our projects, but we consider people that are within these mining activities. Another thing I would like to look at is transportation. I divided transportation into 5 different areas. We look at the seaports. We can actually show the distribution of seaports, where they are, and how much people are being served by these seaports, and to suggest in our project things to do, to suggest to government things to do to make this seaports, to make it relatively available to those that want to make use of it. Another one is airports. Airports, we can actually show the origin and destination of people that are making use of this airport in terms of the spatial analysis, checking their distribution, where are they going to, where are they coming from. So looking at our international airports, that could be a study area. We can also check our local airports. Looking at the transits too, we can actually make use of all our cities. For example, a model is the one in Lagos. We have our BRT, Bus Rapid Transit. This can also be a major focus in our project, trying to look at the transit. How many people is it satisfying? Can we open up a new place to this transit to make it open up to other areas if there are a lot of people within that area? So this transit satisfy places that are building up or places that are cities. So rails, looking at the rails, you can also do a kind of distribution to satisfy this origin and destination. Looking at Abuja to Kaduna axis, looking at Lagos Ibadan axis, the recent Lagos Ibadan in terms of rail, we can actually look at those people that are making use of it, especially the weekends, people going to Lagos from Ibadan and to and fro. So we can actually talk about this in our project, which can actually help our government to make better decisions, and it can be published for people and other decision makers to make use of. And also looking at the roads and rail and highways, it has been a major transportation that people focus on, because virtually every place has a road, whether it's a local one, truck A, truck B, or truck C. So it has been a major area. So we shouldn't just talk about road and highways. We can also actually focus on other transportation modes. Now, going further, let's look at the government and the public safety, the states, the local, and the national government. We can actually help the government by actually making our projects that talked about any aspects in the ministries. We can focus on health or education or humanitarian sector, just to help the government to make their decisions. So we can check the distribution of people across a particular place, check the buffer, their proximity analysis, to help government in their decision making, and also in terms of human and environment, making a linkage. So local and state government too, there are actually some projects that actually covers only national government. So we can actually look at more, even at the local level or at the state level, that will help in decision making, maybe for planning or in terms of environment, health, and the likes. So looking at the public safety, which is a major issue of the national government, although not the national government alone, but state and local government. So safety has been a major issue in Nigeria. It can be a project area. We can actually check our communities, check in terms of community clashes. We can actually make a map, a kind of distribution to show places that are being affected more and to suggest solutions by checking where the source of the problem is coming from. We can actually show the race of those particular people. Who are they? Do you have a particular tribe in a particular place, or is it by a religion? What's actually causing the disconnection? So we can actually look at it by checking the place where these people are coming from, trying to check. We can actually check through it in terms of time series to check the foundation of the problem. How was it in 2000? How was it in 2005 and 2010, 2015, 2022 to show the trend? So this can actually be a major area. So going further, I'd like to talk about health too, health, education, and science. In terms of health, we can actually help in this health sector by showing how this, for example, the COVID-19, how is it being distributed across the country? And we can start checking, oh, why is it that Lagos is having more of cases, and which can be seen in the population actually. But we can also even go further to check how people are being transported from Ogun State to Lagos, and not just only that, check other axes from Abia State to River State. How are people being transported? Checking Kaduna to Kano, trying to check in terms of people moving from a particular place into the major area of their business, just like Nasarawa to Abuja, which is also an example. So we can check where they are coming from to actually detect what should we do. Should we make a kind of lockdown, or should we kind of redistribute our functions, that it won't just be only Lagos? We can actually distribute all these in terms of health sectors or hospitals or different areas that can actually help in terms of this disease, which can also be mapped. We can check the hospitals. Maybe we need to create more hospitals to solve the issue of COVID-19, malaria, Lassa fever, and the likes. So this can actually be another area. Education, we can show the distribution of our education sectors. We can show in terms of the one you want to talk about. Is it universities you are focusing on? Is it polytechnics, or you are looking at colleges, or you are looking at everything as a whole? So we check the spatial analysis. So this can actually help in decision making. It can actually help with the administrators. So thereby we are actually improving learning, teaching, and we're actually contributing to decision making. Also, we talk about science. Science, we can advance science using this, our geospatial application. We can make use of our satellite imagery to check trends, to check what you can predict the future, you can check the present, you can check the past, and how it has been in the present to be able to predict the future using our imageries to check how things have been. And we can also make use of this to provide essential needs in advancing this science. Now, going further, we look at the petroleum and pipeline. This has actually been a major area for our guys in geology or geosciences and some other schools that have mining as a course. So petroleum and pipeline, we can actually look at in terms of new resources, where we have renewed resources, how to get the location, how to extract this location. We can map these places to get a deeper understanding that help us to show the patterns of these petroleum activities that's been carried on. So that has actually also helped us to talk about environment which has actually been a major area that people in the petroleum are looking at. We're not just talking about the petroleum having it there, but we also want to look at the people that have been affected probably by the pollution that is being carried out there, and to suggest ways that we can improve their activities. So this can actually be a major area that we can focus on and show the distribution, and to take a sample from the people, the communities that are there, and suggest to government, and which this publication, we can actually make it up there that people can download and to help in decision making. So it's not just in terms of gas companies' work, it's also in terms of environment, reputation, and assets. Now, going further, look at the architecture, engineering or construction, and telecommunication. This has been a major area in engineering, and for people in building and construction, people in architecture, telecommunication, especially those in electrical engineering. So when we want to make the infrastructure, we need to look at a lot of things for those in building and construction, and for some people in engineering and architecture. We need to look at some things. We look at these infrastructures projects, how they can be delivered in a way that it will not affect the communities that are there. It will not limit their involvement. It will not limit their activities day by day. So in terms of natural resources too, there has to be a natural environment that is sustainable. We predict the future. We look at what is going on. We check using our envy to check the resources that we have, and to be able to predict which particular area is being possible, that we have a possibility of being explored in the future. So we make our construction to go in a particular way that it does not affect the situation of the ground that we are making that construction. So that has even led us to urban design. So we create a kind of visualization, not just a visualization, a real world visualization that comes in a 3D that can be interacted with, not just having a 2D design, but we can actually have a 3D design in our analysis for projects that can actually make people to see and understand better what we are trying to do. Now, talking about the telecommunication, especially for those in electrical engineering. So it's a particular area that we can actually provide a geospatial infrastructure in the aspect of empowering an organization. So it can help us in that area in terms of system of engagement. It creates an insight, which has actually helped in the telecommunication aspect in terms of what? In terms of locational, in terms of location intelligence. Going further again, we look at the conservation, water, and utilities. For those guys in forestry, this is another area apart from the forestry, which I talked about earlier. Conservation too is another area for those in forestry, and some people in tourism have been able to go through conservation in terms of the natural parks that we have. How many people are making use of these natural parks? Is this satisfying their needs? Where can we site new parks? The parks that are being available, how can people get to those parks? So we try to consider a lot of things to make sure that these nature parks are being preserved. So what conservation will do is that conservation is making sure that we are not doing harm to the forest reserves or the natural area that we have. We are not doing harm to them. So we can actually make a project, we link the communities and we link the natural area to make sure that the communities can probably give us an idea to how we can better help in our projects, and also to make sure that those that are coming to these nature areas are not causing harm to those areas. Why? So that they can be a sustainable environment. So looking at the water too, there are guys in hydrology, there are guys in water management and the likes. So we can actually talk about water in terms of the fresh water. How does it get to the places that it's supposed to get to? So we can look at their distribution, getting to those places. We can look at the buffer. How many people are how many people are having this water accessible to them? how many people do you have in this particular location? Do we need to make sure that water gets to a newer location more because there are more people in that location? So these are areas that we can actually look at. Also, in terms of utilities, we can actually look at the electric and gas utilities. And this has actually been an area that has been that has not actually gained much attention, which we can actually focus on. So we look at utility mapping and spatial analysis in terms of electric and gas utility. We can actually track expansion of new areas. We can actually capture through satellite images of terminals and the likes. So going further, we have been able to talk about the application areas. So we now want to look at the second focus for today, which is looking at the third focus rather, which is the last one. We talked about introducing sustainable. We talked about introducing this GIS and technology. We also talked about the application areas, which is the second one. Now we are moving into sustainable development goals and the application area, trying to link the SDG and the application areas. Now, looking at what it's all about, we can actually make a better plan. We can execute this better plan in a way that our environment can be sustainable, that it does not affect the people that are here. As humans, there's a kind of human and the environment interaction that one is not causing much harm to the other. And there's a kind of relationship in which the problem of one can be limited. If the environment is causing a lot of harm, we can try to limit it. And if humans are causing a lot of harm, we can try to make provisions or to suggest ways that people can actually reduce their harm being caused to the environment so that we can have a sustainable world. So we can actually achieve this actually with scientifically grounded system. So moving ahead, we want to look at this SDG goals in terms of specific areas. For geospatial application, we've seen a lot of areas in terms of this SDG 1, 2, 3, 6, 11, 13, 14, and 15. And specifically, looking at no poverty, which is the SDG 1, we can actually make a kind of poverty map to show places whereby we have a lot of people or masses that have been a function of this poverty, and then tries to suggest ways how we can actually help them in terms of an example to this. We can actually look at the north. There's some places that are actually strictly into this aspect of poverty. So we can actually suggest ways to help them. Example is the Amajiris, which are being in the north. So we can actually suggest ways to help them. Zero hunger for most especially those guys in agriculture. You can actually suggest ways, map out places of places whereby it has not been opened up for agriculture, and you can suggest different places in Nigeria that you've checked with your satellite imageries. You've checked that this place is good for agriculture, plantation agriculture, probably cocoa or oil palm, that can actually serve a lot of people and can actually help us in foreign exchange for the nation. So this can be in a large scale, and you can actually use the drone to check how each crops are actually improving. And we can also make use of irrigation system to help in places whereby there has not been a lot of development in terms of the soil and not too good. So we can actually make use of irrigation, and probably maybe we don't have too much of rainfall. Maybe there's limited rainfall within that area. So we can actually convert some places into becoming a better place for a lot of plantation, leading to harvesting. And we have a lot of this production, food production, for people to actually be able to feed their families. Another thing we want to look at is the good health and well-being. In terms of health and well-being, specifically for SDG, we can check the distribution pattern of these diseases, malaria, which has actually been a very difficult problem in Nigeria. And we have seen a lot of people that have died through this malaria, and which has actually been a major problem in Nigeria, specifically as a country in the sub-Saharan region. So we can actually look at this, look at different species of this malaria, which the actual one is causing a major problem in a particular place. And Lassa fever, COVID-19, this can actually be, this can actually be a major area. And not just that, we can actually look at some waterborne diseases, look at them and talk about it. How can we improve? You know, this disease has caused a lot of cholera situations. An example has been a situation that we had in Abuja. That was about 3 weeks ago, that some people have been affected with cholera, and there are some other places that have actually been affected with this cholera. So there has been a lot of cholera resurfacing in a particular place. So we can actually do a distribution to identify places whereby we have this situation of this waterborne disease, and actually to see where these people are coming from. What is the common thing about these people, to be able to predict how things should be, so that the future is not affected, or the future problem can be limited. So we can actually look at the location of different health sectors or different health centers, like hospitals, primary health centers. Where are they located? Checking the buffer analysis. How many hospitals do we have in a particular region? How many people are in that area? Do we have a situation whereby there are fewer hospitals for a lot of people in a particular area? By that, we can actually suggest that new hospitals should be created within these areas that have more people. And we can also actually look at the practitioners, medical practitioners. Should we take these practitioners to another hospitals that are being needed, in terms of moving them from a place whereby we have less people in terms of population in that area to a place whereby they need more people? So that can actually be another focus, and we can actually do this using our geospatial technology to check what's going on. So in terms of ENVI, we can check time series of what has been happening over years, in terms of 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. There should be an interval for our projects, so to show a particular trend. Then we can actually look at the satellite images using the Wintra drone, or drone in general, to check these areas, to fly the drones and check the areas which we have this situation. And also Esri to show the distribution, and Trimble to collect locations. So this can actually be a major focus for all our SDGs or all our application areas. Looking at the SDG 6, which is the clean water and sanitation. So we can just talk about a clean water, or talk about having a fresh water for a particular place, without looking at the hygiene, the sanitation that's been carried out in that place. So we can look at the spatial distribution of these water sources, where they are coming from, and to make sure that there is nothing like water pollution that can be a major harm to the people that are there, and to check the point and non-point of the source. Where is this pollution source coming from, so that we can attack it from where it is coming from. Then we look at the 11, SDG 11, which is the sustainable cities and communities. We look at the land use, land cover. We check what is this particular place, what is being made use of. So we can check through our satellite to show the land use, land cover over time. So, okay, this place has been moved from a forest, it's more of a forest, it has been changed to what we have now, city. So we can actually do what we can check through this and check what has been happening over time. So we can suggest places whereby we can have a kind of urban system, a kind of places that can open up to urban system due to the fact that they are connected through roads. They are connected, well connected. So we can actually suggest places whereby we can have new estates, or suggest ways that these estates can be planned in a way that it doesn't affect people negatively, but it helps them positively. Maybe the estate needs to create a particular road in their estate that links to some settings of the buildings that are there. So which area, which pattern should they follow? So this can actually be a major suggestion in our publications or in our projects, so that at the end of the day, we can have a kind of a smart cities. So cities that are not just what we have now, but cities that are connected in all aspects, in transportation, in planning, everything is connected. They are just easy to get to wherever you are going to. And there are some other resources or other activities that is being going on here. So another one is the climate action. This climate action has been a major problem, that has been being looked at by people in terms of look at the flooding. Flooding has actually been a major problem to Nigerians. We look at the middle regions. We look at the rivers that are there causing a lot of issues to people that are within those axes. And we look at those places that are closer to oceans, those places that are closer to lagoons, those places that are closer to all these water areas or water places. So this flooding are actually being looked at. How can we make sure that people build their houses in a way that it won't affect them, so that they won't be affected by flooding? And then to also look at the fact that people should not put their debts in the water, so that it doesn't affect the situation where there is flooding. So this actually be a major area. And we talk about the carbon, that people should make sure that they plant trees, they don't cut down their trees, so that it helps people in terms of their health, it helps them in terms of their lives. So we can have a better environment in terms of airflow and all that for climate action. Another one is looking at the SDG 14, life below water. So that's a major area that people can actually look at. The oil spillage been happening here and there in terms of the Niger Delta axis. So we can check and detect this ocean pollution, and we can also identify places that we can have the kind of fishing zones in these places of waters or oceans, that we can actually freshwater rather, that we can have these fishing zones. Then another thing is looking at the life on land. A lot has been happening, deforestation here and there. So we can actually check places being deforested. How have they evolved over time? Checking the imageries to check places being cut down, trees being cut down over years, interval for 5 or 3, 2, depending on which one you want to use, to check and to suggest what can be done to limit these deforestation activities that are being carried out. And also we can also look at the forest cover to check places that we can actually preserve. We can actually preserve for a kind of a conservation environment. Those are the specific goals that I've been able to talk about. Now looking at the combination. So I'll be making an example of combination of this SDG. A particular combination, although there can be a lot of combinations, you can combine a lot, just like this, combining health to sustainable cities, whereby we make sure that there is a good accessibility in places of hospitals, are accessible by roads. When we don't have accessibility in place, it affects people to get to a place whereby their health can be tackled, their conditions can be tackled. So we cannot talk about health in this aspect of making sure that people get to the health facilities that is being provided to them without talking about how they can get there, without talking about the accessibility to these places. So this can actually be a kind of combinations. So there are other combinations too. In terms of life on land, you can say, okay, how do I get to using the sustainable cities or communities too? How do I get to a conserved place, probably in a nature park? How do I get there? So that can actually be another major focus. So talking about others too, there has been some other areas that has not been mentioned. In terms of the specific and the combination sample, there are a lot that has been done in this geospatial environment, but there are other areas that a lot has not been seen from students being done, but we can actually use our geospatial technology to talk about this. An example is talking about the education, trying to make sure that there's access to education for to tackle the SDG, access to quality education. Now we can actually show the accessibility to these education facilities, and we can suggest new places whereby the education, we can actually have more schools, probably university or primary or secondary, or institutions generally, maybe a polytechnic or college, or some research centers. So depending on which particular area you want to tackle in terms of education. So another example is gender equality that has not been talked about much. So this can actually be a major focus, talking about the gender, to make sure that there's an equality system, and to make sure that we make use of this our geospatial product or geospatial knowledge to tackle this equality in terms of poverty, in terms of hunger, and this can actually be a combination sample too. Now it's we've been able to check through the geospatial and GIS, trying to look at GIS. What does it mean? Because there's been a misconception about GIS and geospatial technology, and we've been able to look at these application areas, checking different areas for people, especially those in related to geospatial technology. Actually, our geosciences departments, our geography department, surveying and geoformatics, our mining, our people in environmental, our people in forestry, and the likes. We've been able to check one or two ways we can make use of this, our ArcGIS Esri, to tackle these application areas, and our Trimble to actually take point locations of places or locations to check the coordinate of places, and then we can actually make use of MV for this our forest cover, land use land cover, in terms of the analysis we want to check for these application areas. And we can actually take our drone, just like in agriculture, to take this precision agriculture in terms of irrigation and the likes. So these are actual areas that we can use. And I also talked about the SDGs, linking them specifically to the geospatial technology. And I also looked at the combinations, and I also looked at others that has not been really tackled. So in our researches and projects, we can actually limit challenges using our geospatial technology. So there has been a lot of data that has been collected, but if you make use of this geospatial technology, it makes it easier for people to better understand what we are trying to talk about in our projects and our researches, which can actually be be published. Thank you for having me through the presentation for today, looking at the geospatial application areas. for school projects. Thank you so much. That's the end of my slide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olumide. That was a very wonderful presentation. At this point, I would like to invite people who, all right. At this point, I would like to invite anyone that has a question, you want to make a comment on this presentation. If you want to type your question, put it on the chat box and we will take it. We have our experts with us who will be taking your questions, about any questions concerning our presentation and about your project area in school. You can put it on the chat box or you raise a hand and we will take you to ask your questions. Okay, we can see a hand raised. So can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please? Okay, while we're waiting for the one who's raising hand to ask a question, we have a question here. The person says, I basically need an insight on how to go about assigned weights. My project is on groundwater potential mapping using techniques. And I'm done with it. I just started learning GIS online. Shape files for thematic signed before I integrate to get my final map. Please, I need help on this. Okay, I have regionals, but it seems they just assign weight to the factors based on their importance, which is not making any sense to me. Okay, I think your question is more of something we might need to talk more after the webinar. But maybe if one of our professionals would like to say something, let me invite Fresh Stacy Nidombo, one of our professionals, to give a comment on this question. Tessini, please unmute yourself.
All right, thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can hear you. Just be a little bit more audible.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adeyemi, that's a very nice question. So what I would like to make you understand is that you talk about weighting, okay? So weighting is quite important in trying to see how you can assign certain features, that is layers of features to your work. But I think what you are reading in several journals is actually just a summary of what you get. So I think I would just like to share my screen a little bit if you're still on the meeting so that you can be able to have an insight of what weighting is all about. So permit me to quickly share my screen so I can explain to you better how to go about that. Now, for weighting, there is what we call analytical hierarchy process, okay? Analytical hierarchy process. So this particular function gives you an ability to provide weight to every criteria you're trying to look into. And so what you see in journals is actually the results of the weighting. As you can see my screen, you have different criteria that will probably determine a certain function, okay? Now, for each of those functions, you have a criteria, and then you give what? The comment. And so the system automatically what? Generates the weight and the rank. Take, for instance, you are looking at the let's say flood analysis, for instance. Now, what are the factors that causes flood? So you might be looking at slope, you might be looking at land use, land cover, you might be looking at rainfall, you might be looking at temperature and other factors. So the question is, which of these factors has a higher hierarchy? And from each of these factors, you put them according to what? According to hierarchy. Take, for instance, if you are looking at flood, what causes flood? One, an environment where that is a little bit slopy, or an environment that is very, very well paved. These are environments that could easily be what? Be flooded, because the land might not be able to what? Percolate the water that is what? Coming up. And so with that, you will have to use this simple sheet to be able to what? Calculate your weight. And at the end of the day, you will be having what? A summary table that will give you the weight, the rank, the Eugene value, the consistency ratio. And that information is what you will send into your software, because each of the value you have in raster has to be what? Has to be weighted. And so the values you get from here is what you will impute into your raster data so that it can generate a raster result for you at the end of the day. I hope this answers your question. Thank you. Over to you, Precious.
Thank you very much, Destiny. And I hope your questions have been answered. So in that case, does anyone have any more questions?
Yes, I think Habib Olagunju was raising up his or her hand earlier on.
Yes.
I wouldn't know if.
Do you want to take your questions, Mr. Habib, or you want to type it?
Yes, I think Habib Olagunju
Yeah, no question. Okay, okay, thank you very much, but it is the same process for MRC because I noticed you just displayed. Okay, Mr. Olagunju, sorry, Habib, I can see your comments. Thank you very much for that. All right. So in the absence of no more questions. Okay, there's another question here. It says, good morning. I'm working on integration of GNS. Give me insight on how to go about it. Clemens, one of our experts. Clemens, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Precious. The question is not it's not providing enough information for it to be answered. But then, yes, we can assist you in how you can get that done. Could you provide your email address so that we can send you some documents that can assist you? I'm talking to Abose Taiwo regarding your question. So we can send you some helpful documents after the webinar to assist you with that. Precious, you can continue.
Okay, thank you very much.
Precious.
I'm going to move on to the next thing on our agenda. We're having. Okay, I see someone else is raising their hand. Is that Tessini? Tessini want to make a comment on this? Please go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much. There is an anonymous attendee who asked a question, and he or she is asking, I want to ask about data sources for health-based GIS projects. Are there public or open source data for certain health-based records? Or let me just ask about open source data in any area of life that I can make more interactive, intelligent, and useful for decision making? Or do I have to always go through the process of data collection every time for my GIS? Okay, and so to the anonymous attendee, I can actually assure you that there is a lot of open source data, especially in Nigeria here. And so these are, if you could just provide us with vital information, maybe an email address, we can as well send you that. And also Sambos Geospatial Nigeria Limited also has an open data source whereby you can get certain data that are very, very well validated. So if you can just reach out to us, we can as well send you information, more information on that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Tessini. If you have any more questions, can we take, I think we have like 2 more minutes to take one more questions. Okay, in the absence of no more questions, I'll go ahead with the next thing on our agenda. Okay, somebody says, hello, I've read different journals and some were using AHP and others using fuzzy logic. What's the difference between the two in using them for rainwater harvesting, sites and stability? Justin, do you want to say something on this?
Okay. Well, on one hand, it's more or less like you looking at these values and providing weighting for each of them, okay? And then on the other hand, you can decide to use fuzzy analysis for each of them. But whichever way you want to take up the analysis, that depends on your methodology and what you intend to achieve. Thank you. Precious, over to you, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tessini. Okay, at this point, we're going to move on to the next thing on our agenda. Okay, so we have a few announcements to make for our students who are joining us today. We have a program coming up and we feel that this program is, you're going to benefit from it as well. This is a general training that we're having for people who want to become GIS professionals. So if you can see my screen already, I am projecting getting the training details. So if you want to be a part of this training, we have physical training and virtual training. So if in case you think your location will not allow you to be here in Abuja with us, you can also indicate and join us online. So we're having 20th to 23rd, we're having 27th. Choose either of this and we get that. This is what we're doing. So now we encourage you to hurry up, and we have limited space for this as well. Hurry up and get registered. If you want to become a GIS, who will take you on details, take you on take you deep, and we're focusing on ArcGIS. So check our social media pages for more details. And let me also emphasize on this. You don't need to have a license to join this training. We have we're giving you a free personal user license that will last you for a whole year. So if you join this training, you're having a free license for yourself. So hurry up and go get yourself registered for this training. Let us know if you wanted to be virtual or sorry about that. I think I went off for a bit. And if you want to be a part of the Geo conference, you can register online on our website program. If you want to give, you want feedback, you want to learn more about everything we've talked about, geospatial application areas, you can send us a mail, info@sambosgeospatial.com. You can also check on our website to see more of our contact details, social media handles. You can reach us for anything you need, license deployment, you want a solution, want a consultancy, anything you need, we are always at your service. And thank you very much again for coming in for our program today. We hope to see you on our upcoming program and our trainings. Thank you. And have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your day today.
Thank you so much.